In this video, I'm challenging myself to put together an all-in-one keys rig running on an iPad under $400 all in, including a Sunday Keys license. Let's see if I can pull it off. Hey folks, I'm David from Sunday Sounds, where our goal is to equip and empower worship keys players and worship leaders to level up the keys position at your church. One of the most important things for a lot of churches is doing things on a budget. We want to be really intentional with the tithes and offerings that our congregations bring to the church. The premise of today's video is seeing whether we can put together a great worship keys rig on a shoestring budget. Now, I think that this is possible thanks to the Sunday Keys iPad app. We're going to be talking about finding an inexpensive iPad, all of the gear you need to connect it, so you can use that rig as the center of your leveled up worship keyboard rig at church. Now, if your church is anything like churches I've been a part of, budget is always a consideration for the worship department. In fact, the only reason I started using software for my key sounds almost 10 years ago was because I had no budget to be able to buy a new hardware keyboard. Today's video is all about how you can maximize your budget dollars and get a great, reliable keys rig without having to spend tons of money. And to do this, we're gonna be hunting for some deals. So I've got my computer here. We're gonna be heading on to Amazon, Marketplace, eBay, talking about where you can compromise, where you can save money, and where you need to invest your budget dollars so your iPad keys rig actually sounds and performs great on stage. Let's start off by talking about the iPad model that you want to use. This is the biggest expense that you're gonna run into as you're putting together this keys rig. Now, at the time of shooting this video, there are no new iPads available that cost less than $300 alone, so we know we're gonna need to go to the refurbished or used market. So I've got Amazon open here, and I've just pulled up a brand new iPad. This is the base iPad available from Apple at the time of shooting this video. It's got a slightly older A chip from Apple, and it's $309, which is a little bit of a discount versus the price you'd find if you went to apple.com. Now, if you wanted to buy something new, I recommend checking Amazon before you check Apple's website, because they're almost always going to be a slight discount available when you go to the Amazon website. So this is not going to fit within the budget that we're shooting for today's video, but if you wanted to buy something new, this is probably the least expensive new iPad that you could buy today, especially if you go to Amazon and get that little discount. But we don't have that option here. It's just a little bit too expensive for us, so we have to look to the used market. What we want to look for is a generation or two back for the iPad. So what I've done is I've pulled up my local Facebook Marketplace. I've typed in iPad 8th generation, and let's see what we find. First off, I see a bunch of ads for iPad cases and things that aren't really relevant to me. And I see a couple 8th generation iPads, iPad Air, but most of these prices are a little bit higher than I would like. I could also look for iPad 7th generation, slightly less powerful, but still adequate for running your live key sounds. Now, I've got a 7th gen iPad here that's listed for $400. And sometimes you'll see these higher priced models and kind of wonder, why is the price so high? It's typically because those models have more built-in storage. As you know, Apple likes to charge a hefty sum for expanded storage. So anytime you see a really expensive looking one, that's probably why. Here I see a 7th gen with 32 gigabytes of storage for $250. So this might be a good option for me. You could just look into that and see what the quality looks like. And if I were looking for a used option, I'd probably contact this person to inquire. Anytime you're reaching out to somebody to buy secondhand or used, always exercise caution. Don't give away too much personal information, and make sure you feel good about the deal before you commit to it. So this 7th gen iPad could totally run the live keys rig. That'd be a good option. We could also look back to the 6th generation and just see what we find. We might find something even less expensive. Oh, here's a really interesting one. Here's an iPad 7th generation with 128 gigabytes. And so I'm going to open this up. Okay, here's what I'm talking about. So the listing says 128 gigabytes, but the fine print right here says that it's 32 gigabytes. So you never know quite what you're going to get into until you actually get into the listing, talk to the seller. You always have to be a little bit cautious. So again, at 180 bucks, even with 32 gigabytes of RAM, this would be a great deal. Maybe the seller just made a mistake. I might reach out to these people as well. Okay, let's take a quick look over at eBay and see what we can find. eBay, these options are going to be shipped to you. I see that we've got a 7th gen with 32 gigabytes of storage for $209. That's the current bid, so we'd have to go into it and see if we could buy it now or not. A few other options here. This one has 128 gigabytes of RAM. It's up for bid at $204 currently. It'll probably go for more than that because it's got more built-in storage. Do a quick search for 6th gen as well, and just see what we find. Here's a 6th generation with 32 gigabytes of RAM, Wi-Fi, and it's also unlocked for mobile. Sometimes you'll pay more for that. We don't really need it for our keys rig. That's currently buy it now at $189. This is probably the most affordable option that would be a sure thing fit for what we're going for. A couple other options, all under $200, kind of in that $170 to $200 range. So really, I would inquire about several of these and pick the one that I felt best about. One more place you can go, this is a place where you can really filter down the results and trust that you're going to get what is listed, is macofalltrades.com. Here I'm filtering down to just show 6th, 8th, and 9th gen iPads with storage capacity under 200 gigabytes. And I've got a couple options here. Here's a 6th generation iPad with 32 gigabytes, $189. Another one, slightly better condition for $199. You might pay a little bit more if you purchase from a dealer like Mac of All Trades, but I think you can exercise a little less caution when it comes to buying from a dealer like this because they're going to do some quality control on all of their product before they list it for sale. So there were decent options that would be close to fitting into our budget on Facebook Marketplace, on Mac of All Trades, and on eBay. For me, I think I would be really interested in this eBay refurbished 6th generation iPad that's $189.95 shipped. So let's say that we are at $190 so far for this iPad. However, if you can afford to spend a little bit more or take some time being patient and saving up a little more, you could buy a newer, more powerful iPad that's going to last you longer and going to give you more powerful performance over time. For example, the new iPad Air features the Apple Silicon chip, which is the exact same hardware that's in Mac computers. So you're going to get more powerful performance, and it's probably going to last you for years to come as well. So this budget-friendly approach absolutely makes sense for some churches, but not necessarily for all. It just depends on the context for your church and where you choose to invest your budget. Now that we've got an iPad selected, we've got to get everything connected. So there's a couple specific pieces of gear that we'll need to add to the cart. I'm gonna do this all on Amazon. So the first thing you need is an Apple Lightning to USB 3 camera adapter. Now we really recommend not going for one of the off-brand adapters that claim they go from Lightning to USB. Trust me, we've tried them and they are very unreliable and prone to failure. Even if they do work, sometimes we found that the audio quality tends to suffer. So in my opinion, it's really worth investing to buy the official adapter. This plugs straight into your iPad, Lightning on one side, and at the other end you have a Lightning port, which you'll plug into the wall to supply power to your iPad. That's going to keep your iPad charged, and it gives you a single USB-A port. Add this to the cart. Right now it is about $37. Now we need a powered USB hub to plug into the single USB-A port on that adapter. We have had a good experience with the Anker 7-port USB hub. It gives you 7 USB-A ports and does come with a power supply so that your connected MIDI controller, your audio interface, or whatever else gets plenty of power. Now this tends to go on sale a lot, so if you watch the price, sometimes you can pick this up for $29.99. The time of shooting this video, it is $49.99 if you have Amazon Prime. Since it's not on sale right now, we'll be honest and say that this is about $50 into the cart. So now that we have the official Apple adapter that allows us to charge the iPad and connect a USB hub, and we have a powered USB hub itself, we're going to plan to connect our MIDI controller, or maybe multiple MIDI controllers, to that hub. The last thing we need is a way to get the audio from the iPad to the sound system. Now, since we bought an older iPad, it actually has a simple solution built in. You may never have heard of this. It's a pretty antiquated idea. It's called a headphone jack. So all we need is a simple adapter cable that's an 1/8-inch headphone jack on one side and splits out to dual mono 1/4-inch on the other. So this is an affordable option from a well-known brand called Hosa. It's just a 3-foot adapter cable. Right now, it's only $7.30. We're gonna go ahead and add this to the cart as well, and then just use the headphone jack on the iPad to get audio to our sound system. Now, if you happen to own a newer iPad that doesn't have a headphone jack, you don't have to buy an expensive audio interface if you don't want to. You can instead just purchase a very affordable USB to headphone jack adapter cable. Just make sure you're plugging it into that powered USB hub so you get plenty of volume. So I pulled this one up on Amazon. There are hundreds of options for USB to headphone jack adapters. They are not all created equal. So make sure you do some research, find one with good ratings that are actually written by real people. Typically, you're gonna be able to find one that works for under 10 bucks and be good to go. Now with all the gear in place, the last thing to do is connect the keyboard that you already have at your church. Most modern keyboards you can connect straight over USB to the powered hub, or if you need to, you could use a MIDI to USB adapter cable if your keyboard is a little bit older. Okay, so that's all you need. If we add up the total of the prices, as of the day we're shooting this video, comes in at about $404. Now, and if we wanted to be a little bit patient and wait for some sales on these peripherals on Amazon, we could probably come in closer to $380 or $390. Now, it wasn't too long ago that if you wanted to run a software-based keys rig, you needed to spend at least $1,200 or more to buy a nice MacBook and get everything connected in the way you needed. So to me, it's pretty mind-blowing that you can basically take a third of that price and now have a great option for all of your live keys sounds. And this is really all possible because of the functionality, the power, and the amazing sounds inside of the Sunday Keys app. So if you'd like to learn all about that and how it can work for you, check out the link in the description. If you've got other budget options that we didn't mention that we should have, leave a comment and let us know. If you're a worship keys player or a worship leader, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.